Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here, and welcome back to the Bajheera Arena Academy. This will be episode 2, and I think for this one, what we're going to focus on is something that I see a lot of people asking me about, which is target selection. How do you pick which target to go on in the arena, and if and when do you swap? So, for this first matchup, we are playing some Fury Turbo Cleave up against a Resto Druid, Elemental Shaman, Windwalker team. And this is a team where every character on the team can be a little bit tough to get a handle on, especially because they do have a lot of short cooldown defensives to rotate between if we ever are able to actually get a hold of them. So we drop a Stormbolt on the Shaman, he immediately trinkets that, continues sprinting around the pillar in Ghost Wolf, and you're going to see this a lot. Enhancement Shamans, Resto Shamans, Elemental Shamans, definitely going to be using that Ghost Wolf, going to be dropping their slow totems, their root totems, and just being generally really annoying to hit. So that fear right there was an absolute textbook, never do this ever. Bad for a lot of reasons, fear, and I'll tell you why, okay? So I was mostly just annoyed that I couldn't hit the Shaman, so I'm trying to make something happen, but in that annoyance and that frustration, I went and feared the Monk and the Resto Druid, who both were on DR for it, because my Shaman just Hodge and then double blinded, and the Shaman wasn't in CC, so he was able to just waddle over there and tremor it instantly. So 1, I should make sure I have a Stormbolt for the Shaman before I go for the Fear. 2, make sure they're not on DR already. We are able to get a bit of a cheeky kill here on the enemy team's Monk, because the entire game up to that point had pretty much taken place on that one pillar. So his port was still on that one pillar. So when he tried to port out of my spear, he wasn't really far enough away from the spear's tether to not get sucked right back into it. So it was a little bit of a cheeky kill there, but we'll take it. We'll take it. All in all, in that matchup, generally looking to hit the Elemental Shaman when you can to limit their damage, but looking for swaps to Monk on stuns is a great plan. Swapping to Druid is also a possibility, but generally limiting the damage that you're taking and then punishing the Monk in stun combos is a good way to go. Now in this matchup, Turbo Cleave versus... oh boy, that Ret got popped by that Chain Harvest. I guess that's somewhat a good demonstration of why you might want to hit the Ret Paladin, is because rather than the Ret Paladin being able to bop his teammates, and meaning that you have to go through all his teammates' cooldowns and the Ret Paladin's cooldowns, the Ret Paladin, to save himself against Turbo Cleave at least, really only has Bubble. And if he doesn't press Bubble, that could be curtains quickly. We'll see that matchup again, though. So this is a matchup that we actually ended up getting farmed by pretty good. These guys, spoiler alert, just kept finding ways to one-shot my Holy Paladin, basically with elemental cooldowns. So that's a little bit on us, but this is also another demonstration of how tough it can be to bring down an Ellie Shaman. I think one thing that I learned from this matchup here is that really wanted to play Blood Rage, which breaks me out of my own roots, and also playing against a lot of Demon Hunter teams. Demon Hunters can be kind of hard to kill. A lot of times maybe you can swap to them in stuns, but they actually have a lot of off CC. I found myself getting like single target stunned by the Demon Hunter a lot. I found myself getting imprisoned by the Demon Hunter a lot. So they can do a ton of damage to one target, oftentimes your healer, and then just CC you, or obviously they can switch that, do a lot of damage to you, and just CC your healer instead. But we're trying to run down the Shaman, because once again, if you just let a Shaman just chill there and just pump damage into your team, it can be pretty problematic. But that right there, where I leapt over there and I feared both of them into a stun on the Shaman, which is exactly what you want that kind of fear on a Shaman team to look like, right? So I was able to land the fear on both the Shaman and the healer, and then I used the Stormbolt on the Shaman to allow me to have some hard CC to continue to damage the Shaman while the priest sat the fear, because the Shaman wasn't able to use Tremor Totem, right? That's the main thing that you want to prevent, is Shamans, if they're not in CC, will drop a Tremor Totem, which breaks their teammates out of that fear. So that's the big takeaway. If you're going to fear a Shaman team, make sure that Shaman is in CC when you do it. And it could have been the situation that if we wanted to hit the Demon Hunter, I could have just let that fear sit on both the Shaman and the Priest, and then use my son on the Demon Hunter instead. That would have been a great swap as well. Now you may have noticed that the Shaman decided to trinket my Stormbolt to tremor the fear on the Priest anyway, but, you know, that's a trinket on the Shaman, still worthwhile. And you also notice in the gameplay that because we're just hitting the Shaman constantly, I mean, he's still doing an insane amount of damage, but at least he can't just stand there, plant his feet, and just, like, cast, right? Even without really needing to cast, though, he can still just unleash a barrage of lava bursts that one-shots our Paladin without bubbling, but, you know, at least we gave it a try. I think something that we could have done more in order to allow us to win this game is I either could have played Blood Rage, which helps get me out of those little frost shock routes to have better uptime on the shaman. Or we could have done more things like landing double CC on the priest and shaman, and then swap the demon hunter into Stormbolt. However, we were winning that game on mana, so if we just would have been a little bit sharper with our defensive cooldown usage, maybe we could have taken him into the long game and perhaps won on mana, even though priests do heal pretty well without mana. Something to think about for the future. So here's another game against that same Rep Warrior team. You're going to see a lot of Rep Paladin, Fury Warrior / Arms Warrior combinations out there. Really with any healer. Rep Paladin and Warrior deal a lot of damage together. Rep Paladin has a lot of nice off heals and utility to keep the Warrior and themselves in the mix. And Resto Shamans are probably a pretty aggressive healer for this. They have Purge, they have Wind Shear, so lots of stuff to deal with for an enemy team's healer, and just tremendous amounts of pressure coming out from the DPS. So what we're doing here primarily is looking to hit the Rep Paladin for the same reasons I described earlier, while also trying to limit the amount of damage that these guys do to us with their cooldowns. So whenever you see, you know, the Necrolord banner being popped from the Warrior, wings pop from the Rep Paladin, you know a lot of damage is coming your way. So using defensives for yourself and for your teammates in those environments are good. A lot of times I'm popping Enraged Regen, I'm intervening my teammate, I'm looking to disarm the Warrior's cooldowns, and a lot of times I'm looking to spear and maybe even run away from the Rep Paladin when he's got all those cooldowns up. But another thing you can do is the Gladiator's Aegis Trinket. It reduces magic damage by 50% for a while, up to a certain amount absorbed. And that's excellent against Rep Paladin cooldowns and DK cooldowns. Really anybody's cooldowns that deals magical damage, Aegis is a really very helpful tool against that. So using your Aegis during the Rep Paladin's cooldowns is a great idea. Enraged Regen is a short enough cooldown that you can definitely go ahead and use that on Rep Paladin cooldowns, if it makes sense. Now, if you don't need to use it, then don't. But it's going to reduce the damage that you take, and you're going to be healing really well off of that. And by intervening, you're making sure that your teammates don't take as much damage. And if you have heals up and wall up, it's a great time to, you know, just go ahead and heal some of that damage back. It's a good trade. It's a good trade. So throughout the course of the game, we're trying to mitigate the enemy team's cooldowns. You see disarms on Recklessness for Fury Warriors are excellent. Disarms on Arms Warriors during their Warbreaker is excellent. You can pretty much just script that. You don't really need to disarm outside of that a lot of the time. Now, I drop super, super low. I'm able to kite out, launch the Aegis, which gives me just enough time to have my Shaman ever so kindly kill that Rep Paladin for me. So you'll see a lot of these melee cleaves are just like swanging and banging in the middle of the map while trying to land the occasional CC on the enemy team's healer, watching out for the CC on your team's healer, and just crush them in the middle and trying your best to you know, not overlap defensive cooldowns unnecessarily, and chain them with your teammates. Just try to stay alive and win the battle, the brawl right there in the middle. Now this is going to be another matchup that you probably see fairly often, which is Jungle Cleave. Some sort of Hunter, Feral Druid combo. And that can be a lot of different healers, a lot of different specs of Hunter. Fairly durable, tons of CC, and insane damage. So you can see why it's a pretty good composition. We're going to start off on the Hunter. Hunter is going to be our main target, but you can definitely look to swaps to Priest. When they stacked up like this, it's an excellent opportunity for us to get in there and do some damage to their healer. It also allows us to triple cleave when they're stacked up like that, and definitely do some big damage to the healer's mana bar as well. Once again, our main target here is Hunter. The reason for that is Hunters have a variety of tools that allow them to kite pretty well, but take a ton of damage in a stun. So pressuring them the entire time makes them have to kite and give up their positioning that they want to have for CC. And also just is the squishiest target for us to hit, which oftentimes is a pretty good choice in terms of choosing which member of the enemy team you want to focus your efforts on. Now, at this point in the game, we have pretty much exhausted the Hunter's defensive cooldowns, so at this point, our main objective is to try to survive the Jungle Cleave's CC chains and try to finish the game with a kill on the Hunter. So, big CC chain coming. I was able to intervene the bash, but my Paladin still gets feared, so he decides to bubble that. I land a spear on the Hunter, which forces a pain suppression on him. I'm able to quickly turn and kick that Cyclone to keep my Paladin out of CC once again, so he can heal me, stay aggressive, stay offensive. But because I intervened the bash from the last go, they still have their whole trap set up ready to go. So my Paladin eats a pet stun into a freezing trap. Thankfully, the Priest's Sphere is on a couple more seconds of cooldown, which means they cannot chain that whole CC chain, and it gives us a few moments to go back offensive. I'm still being a little bit cautious, protecting my Paladin's Aura Mastery from that Cyclone. Still playing behind the box just a little bit, but now that the Hunter is in our turf, it's time for us to get back on him. And what that means is I'm looking to land a Stormbolt on the Hunter, while my Paladin lands a Hodge on the enemy team's Priest. Now, the Priest does grip the Hunter over to my Paladin to land a Freezing Trap on him. As we discussed earlier, since my Shaman's not in CC, he's able to tremor the Fear on my Paladin to keep us aggressive. I land a massive triple Fear on the enemy team. No trinkets on the Druid, no trinkets for the Priest. Hunter's on his own, and he goes down. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of Bajheera's Arena Academy Episode 2. I'm having a blast with these videos. Hope you guys are enjoying them as well. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me and let me know in the comments any questions or things you guys would like to see covered in these videos. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace!